there was no players union. So they had just next to zero leverage. So there was never any real need outside of some unusual circumstances to have anything like that in a contract, because the owners just had way more of the balance of power back then.
Yes, a lot of control. And the union on some level at the time was in cahoots with the owners, right?
Yes.
So that's
matters.
Even bigger problem. Yes.
Yeah.
Bigger problem.
Okay, one final one here from AA. Hey guys, love the show. Major Australian sports, in particular the AFL and NRL, have a weekend where all the teams play their game in one host city, almost like a festival. What do you think if the NHL did something like that? It essentially would be a recreation of the bubble, but of course, all games would be open to the public. The games could be on a weekend or a Friday to Monday, such as a holiday weekend. Revenue of the games could be redistributed or allocated back to some good cause. Anyway, just a thought. Have a good summer, and let's go Panthers, back to back.
I've never even thought about it.
I love the concept. I just wonder infrastructure-wise if they could pull it off. I suppose if you did it in New York and used the surrounding buildings, maybe you got a chance, but that's a lot of hockey in one area for 32, I guess you're thinking 16 games, right? Over the course of a weekend. But like we talked about, what made the draft great before this year when they decentralized is having basically the entire league in one city at one time. It's great for a fan experience. I just don't know if logistically they could pull it off.
I don't know. This is something we should ask Steve Mayer next year when we talk to Steve, if they've ever think of something like this. Because they're going from 82 games to 84 in a couple years, right? So you'll remember, or some of you will, if you're my age, the last time the season was 84 games in the late 80s, early 90s, they used to have 2 neutral site games. But the players began to really hate those. It was just extra travel during the season that they didn't like. They didn't want it. They didn't stay with it. So that would be the only reason I would say no, is something like that was tried 30 years ago and they didn't think it was successful. But I'm always open to ideas.
Yeah. And that was also a time where the majority of the teams didn't fly on charters. They flew commercial. So travel,
don't bring logic into
this
discussion.
Just to say, there's enough quibbles now, but there was legitimate ones for teams, certainly at times, depending on where you played back then.
There's no room for logic here.
No, not on this show. That's for sure. All right, Elliot. That was it. The final thought line of the season.
Great year, everyone.
Time to recharge the batteries and come back with more hilarity and insanity in the fall.
That was a Canada USA 4 Nations style year for the audience. Great year, guys.
Can't think of a bigger compliment. Okay, one final break and we'll come back and go through the 16 teams in the Western Conference. 32 Thoughts, the podcast, continues after this. All right, welcome back. Time to make our way through the West, and we'll begin in the Central Division, Elliott, and the Chicago Blackhawks, who spent a ton of money a year ago to open free agency. This time around, a lot quieter. Kyle Davidson said the team is at a point now they want to leave some spots open for younger players to grab them. What are your thoughts, Elliott, on the team that, as you say, they aren't rebuilding? They are in the next stage away from that.
Only Pittsburgh is rebuilding, Kyle. Only Pittsburgh. There's really not a lot to say here. They weren't exactly thrilled with how things went last year with some of their vets. And I think they just decided we're not doing that again, as you said. So I'm not surprised that they were pretty quiet. I mean, the true success of this organization this year is going to be who takes steps. Connor Bedard, he changed his whole plan in the off season. He didn't go to the Worlds. When some people wanted him to go to the Worlds, he didn't go to the Worlds because he said, I have a plan here. I'm going to stick to my plan. And I think the plan is going to benefit my NHL team and myself. And I'm committed to that. You saw the talent last year with some of those guys who came in late, like Nazar and some of the other players. I remember Nazar scoring that goal in the shootout in Montreal that nobody realized went in. The thing I liked about that is that was a big moment, maybe not for the Blackhawks, but it was a big moment for the Canadians, and he rose up to it in a big emotional building. Like I like that about that player. To me, it is all about how many of their young players grab jobs, how many of their young players keep jobs next year. Like, don't just win them in the preseason, but keep them throughout the regular season. Does Frondell make the team? Like, I think they want to see, can he force them to keep him there next year? I think they'll be better off with Spencer Knight for a full season. But I think this is a really tough division, and only now are they really starting the process. There's a long way to go here, and the only thing you're really hoping for if you're a Blackhawk fan is that some of these young players are impactful enough that they can grind the team towards at least meaningful games late in the season. It's going to be tough, but I can understand why the Blackhawks did not want to repeat what happened a year ago. Like the best free agents, they aren't going there right now. So you're not going to sit there and say, we're making some of the same mistakes we thought we had a year ago.
This last fall, that was the mantra. They wanted to take a step, didn't quite happen, and so back to the drawing board for Chicago again with their young core, 1 year older, and the opportunity for more of them to grab jobs, as you say, on a full-time basis. Okay, the Colorado Avalanche. So Brent Burns, the Ironman streak continues, we think. Signs a 1 year deal with Colorado. There was that trade with Columbus that we talked about earlier that freed up some cap space for them. And, you touched on the Sidney Crosby rumors and everything that was floating around draft weekend. But they're a team that needs some bodies at forward, though, Elliot. So what do you think the Avalanche are thinking?
Well, first of all, on Burns, I have to correct something. I reported it was a $1 million base with up to $3 million in bonuses. I was wrong a little bit. It's a $1 million base with $4 million in bonuses. And the thing I got confused by, and it's my fault, it's that someone told me it was $3 million in attainable bonuses, and I took that to mean those were all the bonuses there. Someone reached out to me to say